welcome to episode 3, Setting Up the Stage, for this course on how to write drill. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to set up Piware to get started for writing your first show. The first thing we're going to want to do is take a look at the grid. The grid right now is set up for high school hashes, which a lot of states use. But we're going to switch it to NCAA hashes. So we're going to go up here to the saved layouts, find NCAA hashes. Select one that works for us and go from there. We're going to use this because Texas schools and a number of other states use this hash system. And it's just a way to showcase that you can change your grid. I'm going to select the grid icon in the top right corner, zoom out just a little bit so that we can see the whole field. The next thing we're going to want to do is create a name for this file. So we're going to go File, Save As, and we're going to call this Drill Course 2020. That's the year, the name of the file, the year, movement 1. So we're going to -1. Create it as a 3D drill package so it'll save all of our files within, and hit save. The next thing I like to do is put the audio track into the file. So I can do this one of two ways. I can either select the speaker icon and it'll say I'm unable to find audio for this drill. I can click yes and it'll bring that up. The other way I can do it is go to File, Document Options, Preferences, and it takes us to the same place. I'm going to choose File. Now if you've downloaded from the website sweetmarching.com, you can download these files. And I'm going to select Wrath, Opus 1 and 2. This is the first two movements because they kind of bleed together. Click Open. Yes, I want to re-enter the drills, synchronization, and click OK. Now, there's a number of ways we can do this, but we're going to take a look at the score itself. So starting at the beginning of the score, we notice that the tempo is quarter note equals 72, which morphs into quarter note equals 152. So it's not a consistent tempo throughout. Now it is a MIDI file, so each of these tempos will be consistent. So there's a number of ways that we can tap the tempo in. The way that I'm going to recommend is probably the way that is going to be the most accurate. So I'm going to click the speaker icon, and I'm just going to press the space bar once per count. All right, so we're going to press the space bar once per count, and we're going to start synchronization. As soon as that hits and the music starts, we're going to start tapping the space bar along with the tempo that the piece is going. Now, one thing that I recommend is that you listen to this a number of times before you get in there so you can really feel comfortable with the tempo. The other thing is have the score in front of you while tapping it in so that you can anticipate when the time changes happen. Now, one thing that you may have noticed is that we ran out of counts on the count track. Now, if you find yourself in that position, continue to press spacebar while the music's going, and the sync will still line up. Now, to get more counts, you're just going to go to Utilities, Count Editor, add or remove counts in the drill. We're going to add them at the end of the file, and we're going to add, let's say, 100 counts just to be safe. And you'll notice still line up, even past where we added the count. Now that we've set up our count track with the music, we want to start putting in page tabs. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do is pull up the flow chart that we made in episode 2. You notice that we have these big vertical moments for things that are happening in the show. So we'll pull this off to the side and use these as guide points for where drill points can be. So we notice that we're in 2-4. So each bar is going to be 2 bars. We're going to go to the production sheet over here on the left, scroll down to add. Make sure the first thing you're going to do is keep this window open. The new first tab we're going to put is at 0. Okay. Then the next one is going to be 16 bars later, so it's going to be at count 32. And then the next thing we're going to do is add page tab after that, so we don't have to worry about trying to multiply. So 17 to 28 is how many measures? It's 12 measures. So we're going to add 24 counts after that. Then 9 to 45 is 16, so 32. 46 to 53 is 8 measures, so we're going to put 16. 54 to 55 is 2 measures, so we're going to put 4. 56 to 66 is 11 measures, so we're going to put 22. 67 to 72 is 6 measures. We'll put 12. Then we're going to go 73 to 80. That's 8 measures, so another 16 counts. 81 to 88 is 8 measures, so we'll put another 16 counts. 89 to 96 is another 8 measures, so 16 counts. 97 to 104 is another 8 measures. 105 to 113 is 9 measures. Is that right? 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, 9 measures. Sometimes you have to do that in your head and just make sure that it all lines up. 115 to 124 is 10 measures. 125 to 132 is 8 measures. 133 to 140 is 8 measures. 141 to 149 is 9 measures. 150 to 158 is another 9 measures. So we have our, and then click done. Next thing we're going to want to do is Command S. Save as often as possible. Now these give you kind of a generality for the kind of count structure you're going to have. Within that, you can also edit. If you hear in the music, well, maybe I want to extend that, or maybe I want to shorten that, or maybe I want to divide a longer break of sets into more sets. We can do that once we get into the drill writing phase. But the good news is now we have our vertical ideas in the big picture sets all set for us. Now that we've set up our count track and we've put in our page tabs, it's time to set up the props and other ideas that we're going to start with for the show. We know that this show is going to have a stage of some sort on the field. We know it's going to have a front ensemble and drum majors. So we're going to set up the whole idea for what our show is going to look like. Now this is just one idea. This is the one that we're going to use for the remainder of this project. But you could set it up in many different ways. The first thing we're going to do is place our front ensemble. So the way we're going to do this is as a performer prop, and we want to go to the 0 tab first and just put it on the 50-yard line in front of the front sideline. Press enter. Now we want to label that. We're going to label all of our performer props as P's, just so that it's easy to select later on. Then we're going to go to the visual tool, performer prop, pit prop, and we're going to use a large pit for this, and apply changes. You'll notice that in the real view, it showcases that front ensemble. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to click away from that, is create our drum majors. Now we're going to have 3 drum majors. Scroll down just a little bit using the grid select tool, and we're going to put them on the 30s. The first thing we're going to do, 30, 50, and 30, is create the actual props, the actual podiums that the drum majors will stand on. So we're going to select all 3 of these, make sure they're in a straight line, and we're going to go to structure prop, podium 6 foot, and it can be walked on. Okay, we'll go back up here to our real view. We'll see we've got 3 drum major podiums. Now we want to click away from that by right-clicking, and we want to create the 3 drum majors. Now you're going to create your 3 drum majors underneath the props, and I'll show you why here in a second. It's a whole lot easier to select them now without having them be over the top of that. We're going to label them as P's also. And then we're going to put can walk on performer props. Apply changes. Now, one other step is you want to have them face away from the audience, because that's what drum majors do. You want to put them visual pose as pit play 1, so it looks like they're conducting. Now move them on top of the podiums, and you'll see that they're standing on top and it looks like they're conducting. We're going to bring our stage back to center. The next thing we're going to do is create our stage. We're going to use the performer prop tool again. Oh, forgot to right click. I'm going to call it a P. And what we're going to do is select this, go to performer prop, shape prop, and we want it to be a column because we want it to be a circular stage. Now, you think columns as really tall objects, but we're going to make this a short column that is really wide. So the height of this is going to be 3 feet, and it's in yards meters right now, so I can go to feet, and I just want it to be 3 feet tall. Not terribly tall. Now we can have steps going up to it in the back. That's one of those things that you put your pit people, your prop construction crew on. But we can also put those in later. But the width, we want it to be about, let's say, 15 feet wide and 15 feet tall. Hit accept. So that gives it a 5-yard diameter. I'm sorry, 5-yard diameter, 2.5-yard radius of making that work. So we can look at it now, and there we go. There's our stage at the middle. Now we'll just assume that all soloists are wirelessly mic'd. That'll help our lives. The next thing we're going to do is put some ramps going into it. So we're just going to put 2 ramps. Now 3 feet is easily step upable, but this just another way you can do things. Structure prop, ramp. We're going to put this in feet. We want it to be 3 feet tall. And we'll leave it at that diameter. Now, take your selection tool and just select one and face it in a way that is diagonally away from things. And then you're going to use your push tool until you feel like it's touching. We're going to do the same thing with this other guy. There we go. So now we can look at it, and you don't see the stairs, but it's a way that people can go up and down on them. Now you're going to select both of these, go to performer prop, and say they can be walked on. That's an important part, so that people aren't just blurring through things. Same thing with this, with the stage. You want it to be walked on. Okay. The next thing I'd like to do to set the stage is create a soundscape. This show is called Opus, so we're going to put some eighth notes all over the field. Now to place the eighth notes, we're going to use the performer prop again, use the cymbals, and we're just going to put them in somewhat random but symmetrical places throughout the field. I'm going to clone this so that it's symmetrical across mid-stage, and press enter. Thank you for saving Piware. I'm going to move these over just a little bit. Do the same over here. Now to make these look like eighth notes, I'm going to select them all. Remember to label them as a performer prop. Then I'm going to create the eighth notes with a fun tool. It's the shape tool, shape prop, and I want it to be a panel vertical. Okay, now the length is 0. That's automatic. The width, I want them to be, let's say, 1.33, so that's 4 feet wide. And height, I want them to be about 8 feet tall. So that'd be 2.66 yards. Hit apply. Now, I want to choose prop image. Now, in the Dropbox folder, Dropbox drill course, that I put this eighth note clip art in there that I found. It has an invisible background so that it'll just show the eighth note. Now hit apply changes. And now you see you've got eighth notes all over the field. So it kind of sets the stage for some unique things that we can do and interact with these and make it look, like the music is coming to life. Now, if you really want to get creative, you could have some of these as 16th notes, some as quarter notes, and various things. But I think that having a filled circle note of some sort really adds to what's going on. But if you decide to do different kinds, find a kind with an invisible background, a quarter note with an invisible background, a 16th note with an invisible background, and randomly space those out throughout the field. Next thing I want to do is I want to create a sort of area down here at the front of the field that can be showcased along with our stage. And we're going to use tarps to do that. This is a way to create a tarp. We want them to be symmetrical. So I'm just going to put it right on the 40. And on the 40, we're going to create two tarps and they're both going to be performer props. I'm going to select them both. And the way we're going to do this is go to Shape Prop. And it's going to be a panel, but it's going to be flat. So the height is going to be 0 feet off the ground. The length is going to be 5, 10, 15 and a half. And the width, let's make it 5 feet wide, so 1.666. Okay, so now you see that we've got a couple of tarps, but we want to angle them towards the stage so that we're bringing the eye towards the stage. So I'm going to select one at a time, and I'm going to change their facing. You notice that if I change the facing to that, maybe I need to make it a little longer. Okay, so we look at this and go, yeah, I want to make them a little longer. So I'm going to select them both, go to Performer Prop, make the length, let's say 20. We still want to go a little longer. This is just a little bit of trial and error. Okay, this looks like it's about right. We're going to select one at a time. Okay. There we go. So now we've got a couple of different areas that we can explore with visually. We've got this center area that's centered with the front ensemble and the stage. We've got areas over here and over here. So it helps segment our drill and keep us using the full field. Now, looking at this, let's look at the full stage. It looks pretty good. We've got a good idea of what's going on, but there's one thing missing still. And I think that is members of the front ensemble. So here's the trick that I use for that. I make the real view a little bit smaller. Then I just take the point tool and I watch inside the real view for where people should be and move them around. Make sure you're at a step density of about 1/4 or 1/8. Just want to add to the realism of what's going on. Okay, so we've got some front ensemble performers. We're going to label these as P's. Now, we've got a couple of piano players here in the back, so we're going to select them. Go to our Real View menu, facing, have them face their piano, just for fun. Then I'm going to select all of these players that I just created, not selecting the pit itself. And I'm going to go to Visuals, and I'm going to go down to Pit Play 1. So now it looks like they're playing. So now we've got an idea for the stage setup. We've got tarps, we've got drum majors, we've got front ensemble, we have our counts put in as page tabs, and we have the audio all synced up. The last thing that I want to do is look at the Real View and notice it's still using high school hashes. So I'm going to use the settings cog. I'm going to choose a different surface. I've happened to make one for Sweet Marching, so I'm going to use that. It has both high school hashes and NCAA hashes on it, but you can choose whichever surface you find best.